Hello, this is Craig Mellon, and this will be my Module 14 entry for EDL 850, the case study. So for Category 1A, what do I know? So this took place in a wealthy suburban school. There was a teacher, Miss Tate. She's new to the profession, and she teaches very difficult, rigorous courses. This leads to some unhappy students and parents, especially those high-achieving students who may be going for valedictorian or salutatorian. After a long weekend, Miss Tate received an email that linked to a Facebook page that she doesn't know who created it. It was anonymous. The page included vulgar and very vile comments about Mrs. Tate and her teaching, talking about how basically she was a terrible teacher and then insulting her as well. And the very last part of that comment on the Facebook page said, "Who wants Miss Tate to disappear?" Now, Miss Tate saw this as a threat. She was very upset. She called her principal, Dr. Smith, and she was pretty hysterical. Dr. Smith now has been at that school for 9 years. He's very well respected. He likes being known as the principal of a very top-tier school and a very well-respected school. Dr. Smith tells Mrs. Tate it's probably a prank. It was probably a student over this long weekend messing with them. And he asked if there's any students who may be angry or upset with her and asked her to think back to the past week or so for something that may have happened. Miss Tate points out a student named William who, she says has been causing problems, but he's pretty cunning and hasn't been able to really pin anything on him. And she thinks this may have been his doing. Dr. Smith tells her that in the morning, the following morning on Monday, that they will, or Tuesday, whatever it is, the next day of school, they will meet and talk with William, talk to any other students who they think may know anything to try to get some more information. Miss Tate does not feel safe in her home. She's worried that this is a death threat on her, and so she's very upset. So Miss Tate goes to stay with her mother. Category 1B, what do I need to know? So there's a lot still here that I don't need to know. Or I do need to know to really understand this case. So from a legal perspective, is that Facebook page and what was written in it, is that a threat? Is that an actual death threat on the life of Miss Tate? Is she interpreting that as a death threat, but legally or technically it's not? I'm not sure. Should Dr. Smith have advised Miss Tate to contact the police? So he tells her not to worry and that they'll talk about it at school in the morning. But if this is a legitimate death threat, perhaps he should have encouraged her to contact the police instead and to get some immediate help. He also talked to her about using district technology staff to try to figure out who sent the email, where that came from. I don't know if that is ethical, if that's legal, to have district staff do that sort of investigation. There maybe nothing wrong with it. I don't know. How will William be treated? So is this accusation by Miss Tate thinking it may have been William, is that going to affect the way she treats him? Is that going to sort of pin this on him without any evidence? So I need to know sort of what is their plan, or if there is a plan, of how William will be treated. And what will happen if William doesn't cooperate, or if he doesn't know anything, if they don't get any information from that discussion? Are they stuck at this point? What is the plan from that point on, if nothing comes from their discussion with William? Category 1C, the problem. So I see a few problems here. I think the biggest problem, or at least the most immediate, is Mrs. Tate's feeling of not being safe in her own home, of feeling threatened, of feeling her life may be in danger. I think that's the most immediate problem that needs to be taken care of. Another problem exists with, I think, Dr. Smith. Is he willing to risk his reputation and the reputation of the school to stand up to wealthy, powerful parents who may not like this teacher? And then the final problem I see is, how is this situation going to be handled? If the police should be contacted and they are not, if district technology staff overstep their bounds, we want to make sure that this is handled correctly, legally, and ethically. All right, so category 2A, my plan of action. The first thing I want to do is try to calm the fears of Miss Tate and make sure she's not in danger. So as the day goes on, I would check in with Mrs. Tate. I would make sure that she is not feeling threatened, make sure she is not feeling in danger, and if she is, trying to help handle that If she's still feeling threatened, feeling endangered, then I would go ahead and I would talk to the police, maybe a school resource officer if that's available, to try to see if there's something we can do to give her that peace of mind. Next, I would want to contact the school attorney. I would want to discuss legal ramifications using the district staff to check the email, and whether or not police need to be contacted with this Facebook page being created. I would want to also make sure that William and maybe other students, his friends, or just any other student, are not pinned with this or punished without evidence, without knowing that they're the ones who did this, created this Facebook page. This is my plan of action continued here. I want to check district policy. Maybe there's already a plan of action in place. There's an online threat or a student threat against a teacher or any threat against a teacher. Maybe something exists already that can sort of guide me. If no policy exists, I'd want to talk to district leadership and say, hey, this happened. Maybe we can create something. Talk to the teaching staff, talk to the Teachers Association, whatever it is, to maybe we can put a policy in place to help in future situations that may arise. I would want to make sure that instruction or curriculum exists to teach students probably each year how to act online, how to be safe online. That's something that comes up all the time in our schools and just in life in general, and that students need to be educated on. And then I would want to make sure I keep copies of everything. So print a copy or save a copy of that Facebook page in case it gets deleted or changed or edited. The email as well, any other evidence that may exist. I want to make sure that we have copies to hold on to in case something is changed, deleted, or removed. Category 2B, my strategies. So I would get in touch with our school attorney, make sure the things we're doing are legal. I would, if the party who did this act is found, make sure that appropriate consequences are in place. I would want to support Ms. Tate. I would want to support her in her teaching as a new teacher, especially a teacher who's getting some pushback from the community, and especially her feelings of safety. I would make sure that our staff is educated as well, how to handle incidents of threats, even how to handle maybe unhappy parents or students. Category 3A, what is best for all students? So my decisions here would work to protect William and all students from possible accusations without evidence. So William's name was thrown out almost immediately with no evidence. So I would want to make sure that he is not being punished, being treated unfairly, unless we find out that he was the one who actually did this. It's important that investigating this happens legally. So if our school staff shouldn't be digging into these emails or whatever they do to find this information, make sure that's happening in a way that is legal and ethical. And I also want to educate all students on the consequences of actions that they may take online, how to be responsible on the internet. Category 3B, now the resolution. So if this case is handled correctly, whether or not the culprit is found, this case can be resolved. Preferably you find out who did this and there's consequences for that. But even if that isn't able to happen, I think we can still resolve and find a solution. So first of all, Ms. Tate's safety has to be provided for. She has to feel protected. She has to feel that this problem is solved, it's done, it's in her past. If she continues to receive threats, if she continues to feel unsafe, then I don't think this will be resolved. Students and teachers have to be educated. So teachers on how to handle a threatening situation or a situation where you feel unsafe, and then students how to act online. And then our district has to follow methods, if there's existing policy, find legal advice from the school attorney, talk to district leadership, the superintendent, the school board, whoever you need to talk to, make sure students are treated fairly. Category 4A, my thoughts, feelings, and values on this case, on this situation. So my first thought were for the safety of Ms. Tate, to make sure that she is given room to grow as a new teacher, that she's provided the guidance from a mentor and administrator, because everybody as a new teacher grows and gets better. And it sounds like she's really having a tough time as a new teacher with really high stakes in her district. I was also a little worried that Dr. Smith, his sort of reputation, or the school's reputation, may kind of get in his way of protecting Ms. Tate. It's easy, I think, for somebody to worry about the reputation of their own career or of their school when powerful, wealthy parents like the ones in this district are really kind of pushing back. So I want to make sure that he's acting properly, regardless of his own reputation. He's doing the right thing. And then finally, I believe that William may be disrespectful, he may be rude in class, but if there's no evidence saying he did this and he doesn't admit to doing this act, then it's unfair of us to punish him or to go after him if he hasn't done anything wrong or we can't prove that he's done something wrong. Category 4B, unresolved issues. So there's a handful of things that are unresolved and may remain unresolved in this case. So obviously, the biggest issue right now is we don't know who did it. We don't know who made the Facebook page and emailed Ms. Tate. To fully resolve this, you would want to know who did that. You would want to know who created this and then handle that. Another unresolved issue is, will this impact Ms. Tate's teaching? Will the fear that she may have from this threat change how she teaches her class? Will she make her class easier because of this? And in that case, is that a less effective course? And then we would want to make sure also that that Mrs. Tate is able to grow as an educator from this point on, right? That she is not forever tainted because of this incident. All right, now the three components here. The first is integrity. So I want to promote the success of all students and act with integrity in this case. And so I see a couple areas where integrity pops up. So one is the ability to act fairly, to act responsibly, regardless of the reputation of the school, regardless of the reputation of Dr. Smith. Also want to make sure that we're contacting the right people, the school attorney, the police, and we're not worried about covering up this threat, keeping it quiet, keeping it within the school, that we're handling it the correct way, and if that makes it public, so be it. Component 2 is fairness. So again, promoting the success of every student and acting with fairness. So Ms. Tate needs to be given a fair opportunity to grow as a young teacher, to do so without being threatened. To make sure that William or other students are not unfairly accused or punished for this incident without actually knowing it was them who did so. Component 3 is ethics. So to act ethically while promoting the success of every student. So the first things I would want to do is contact, again, the school attorney. Make sure that what we're doing is legal and ethical as a building and as a school. Would also want to make sure that I'm not improperly using the district technology staff to investigate this. That may not be their role, that may not be part of their job, it may not be legal. So that's something I would want to make sure before we go down that route, to make sure that that is something that is ethical and legal. So that's how I would handle this case and my viewpoints on it. Thank you for watching.